Welcome back to yet another episode of Tea with Tanya. Today, the guest we have on board with us needs no more introduction. He's a well known literary figure in the state and the country, better known as Jito by his seniors, otherwise known as Jitendra Narayan Dash, and fondly and belovedly known as Dash Benhur. I welcome you, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Welcome to this episode of
Thank you.
Tea with Tanya. Thank you so much for your time. Sir, I know the answer to this question, but I would like you to reiterate how did you chance upon this pen name or pseudonym called Dash Benhur?
The thing is, in Odisha, this pen name culture is very much there because Sarala Das, the first poet, they say, his original name is Siddheswar Parida,
Okay,
but he is known as Sarala Das.
Sarla Das.
He became a servant of Devi Sarala. But my case is a little different. Say, way back in 1974, when I was doing my PG in Bani Vihar, I had a piece published in one of the newspapers, Hindustan Standard. So I was very happy that one piece is published there. I showed it to a friend of mine. He was a better student, better career than mine. He became very happy and read it all and said, "Who has written this?" I said, "I have written this." He did not believe that. Then I said, "You can come to the hostel room and can see the carbon copy." When I said this, obviously he was unhappy. So I thought now he told that it is a good piece, he appreciated it. Then he revised his opinion because he knew that it is written by me. So I thought it should have been written by another name so that it could have got the neutral opinion. So I was a little sad.
Mhm.
In 1974, this Swati cinema hall that was inaugurated. I did not know that this English film Ben Hur is going on. I purchased a ticket and went into the hall. This film started. And from the beginning, it captured me. And basically, the character, Ben Hur, his suffering became my suffering, his happiness became my happiness. And the most important thing is, he's a winner all through. He suffered a lot.
It is a winner.
But ultimately, he came out as a hero. And he stood by his values for his own people. And that time, Christ is getting recognized. Crucifixion, that picture is there. There is a fantastic chariot race. The entire movie captured me, and I started crying as if I am suffering. That is why I said that his suffering became my suffering. So I thought in Odisha, this culture is there because Fakirmun Sanapati was also writing under a pen name Dhurjati.
Dhurjati.
Even this Bhaktacharan Das, he is actually Vairagi Charan Patnaik. So I thought I must pick up a pen name and start writing under that pen name so that I will get neutral appreciation. If the piece is good, that will get good appreciation. So the no favoritism because you know me, so you will say that it's a good
It's
piece.
hard to believe.
Yeah, if you don't like me, you will say, "Oh, what he has written." So from that day onwards, I started sending articles, having a letterhead under that name, and I was really happy because at that time, Times of India brought out a magazine for the young people, Youth Times.
Youth times.
Anis Jung was the editor, and Nissim Ezekiel was the poetry editor. I was writing English poetry also. So I started sending those poems to Youth Times. Then I sent to Caravan, then to Mirror. A few of them were published. So I got encouraged, and that is how the name clicked. And that name is still there, and I will be there
Forever.
till I continue.
Right. And it's just how fascinating it is that while people are striving so hard to make a name for themselves, whatever name they have, they're striving so hard to highlight it, to make it famous, to get all kinds of limelight to it. But I guess literature is the only field where people can choose a pseudonym, a false name, stick to it forever, and can still be as famous as they want it to be or themselves to be. Have you had any such more encounters while growing up as a new writer in the state? Like your friend was revising his opinions about you once he got to know that you are the writer of the piece. Did you actually find any more such encounters with other people around you?
Actually, many people still in my close surroundings, say back home, many people do not know because usually more people are not interested in literature. It was there. Nowadays, people are not interested in literature, particularly the young mass. But the thing is, your question is why people try to get name, and that too in literature, and some people also adopt pen names. Even Rabindranath Tagore was also having a pen name, Bhanu Singh. Many
Bhavani Singh.
people, Samuel L. Clemens, Mark Twain. So around the world, there are many pen names. Even George Eliot, it's a male name, but it's the name of a woman.
Woman.
The thing is, Dale Carnegie has beautifully explained this. He says, suppose you are having a group photograph in which you are there.
Right?
Obviously, important people are there. Suppose say you are with the prime minister, president, vice president, and the council ministers, and you happen to be there.
You're right.
When you got the picture, which face you will find out first?
Your own?
Your own face.
Yes.
The thing is, everybody wants to see himself, to find himself in the crowd. And literature is a fantastic thing in that regard because it is said out of so many things, you get fame from different in your activities, in your achievements. You want to have fame, but it is writing, particularly literature. You get the fame that continues for a very, very long time. In Sanskrit, there is a saying, a couplet, Nalini dala jalavat sansare sarvam asthiram, like the water drop on the lotus leaf. Life is always shaking. At any moment, it may go away. Nalini dala jalavat sansare sarvam asthiram. Kirti hi akshara sambandha sthira bhavati bhutale. It is your fame linked to writing, akshara sambandha, linked to writing letters, which has a permanence of some kind of permanence. It is nothing is permanent in this world, but it continues for a long time. Say, for example, Ramayana. We don't know when Valmiki wrote it, 5,000 years. And still that text continues, the name of that person continues. I don't think anything done by any human being for 5,000 years it will continue. So it is writing that gives you a unique position, unique fame. So obviously people will try to write, and coming to me, I have tremendous satisfaction in that regard because say for example I was invited to a school in Jamshedpur. They knew this story of mine. That is, there is a story, the tribute, that was selected by CBSE for
NCRT book.
NCRT book for 10th class literature, and it was there from 1990 to 2010 for 20 years. So when I was invited there as a there was a authors meet, I got tremendous satisfaction out of that, and till now a single story, but it gives me satisfaction. So I have encountered several occasions where literature has given me say more fame than I really deserve.
May I ask, or may I say, this would be an extension of the previous question that I had in mind. While we are on the topic of using false names and pen names in the field of literature, you being a veteran writer of the state and the country, do you think women face more bias and tend to take up false names more than male writers do?
No. Till now, women writers are not there. If you count the numbers, they are very few. We must create an atmosphere in which they will be more and more encouraged. That was the reason why that George Eliot name, because she knew that if she writes in her own name,
She might not get the kind of response she got.
yeah, yeah,
And in the recent times also, if we think about erotica genre like 50 Shades of Grey written by
yeah, yeah.
E.L. James, which has a very masculine tone to it, but only few people know now that it is actually a woman who's been writing the entire series. And that brought me to this question, like, do women need, or do they need the shield of a pseudonym more than a male writer does?
I think they need, because you still have this stigma that women wrote like that. When a man writes that, he is bold.
He's bold.
But when the woman is writing that, no, no, this is not culture.
This is
She
not
is
correct.
anti culture. So, therefore, she will be more free. Any woman writer, she will be more free if she adopts a pen name.
Pen name, especially a masculine name.
Yeah. Because I have felt, because of the pen name, I will tell you, this CBSE, when it selected that story, some Gangal was there, the man who was selecting. A letter came from NCRT. They asked me if I will take any royalty. And
Okay.
because they did not know that whether I'm an Indian or an outsider. So in what currency I will take? I did not take anything. But that name, it created a kind of magic. Who
Right.
is this person? Even today, many people think that I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim. They do not know.
They do not know.
So there must be something mystical about the writer, and I enjoyed that.
I was about to ask you, did you enjoy this
Really,
envelope of
really.
mystery around it?
Sometimes I think, how come this name struck me and I adopt this name? Even my mother, she does not know that I have a pen name. Why should she? But I have got this name which is very uncommon, because it should
It's a
have been
fusion.
something to do with Odia culture and all that, Indian culture also. But that name stuck to me, and it struck me. So I adopted that name, and I tell this today that I'm happy that I adopted that name, because you don't, you will have not to say that I have written this. The moment you say that I have written this, I think there is something negative about it. Once you write something and it gets published, like a grown up daughter getting married, if the father will say, no, daughter, you should do like that, you should tell your husband like this, you should tell your father in law that like that, he has no business to interfere in that. Like that, a piece of writing, when it gets published in the form of a book or in the any magazine, it is like getting your daughter married.
Oh wow.
She has her own life. She will carry on like that. That story tribute, I wrote it, it got published. Actually, it was published in Jhankar in 1979, got published in Heritage 1989, that was edited by Manoj Das. But in 90, they chose it. So on its own, it went forward, and there it was there for 20 years. I did not try for that. Had I tried, that would have been a blunder. So my point is, if a book is published, you need not have to go after it. If it
And
has
keep pushing
power,
it.
yeah, if it has its own power, it will go forward.
And that brings me to a very complicated part of this conversation. Now that every parent wants their child to be the next, like writer, or the next Ruskin Bond, or the next Dash Benhur, and they're all going for self publication, do you really think a writer's real potential lies in self publication? Like you said, writing a book, once you wrote a book, it's like getting a daughter married off. Now you have absolutely no business in to partake in it. Would you go ahead and allow self publication if that becomes a question to you?
Most important thing is, you can't train anybody to be a writer. Writing, it
Hmm.
has no grammar.
Okay.
You can train your child. If you are a cricketer, you can train him for batting or bowling. If you are a singer, you can also train him or her. But you can't train your child to be a writer. She may be a reporter. But you can't look at Rabindranath Tagore. All the great writers, their children, they are not writers.
They're not writers.
The writing is certain kind of thing like realization.
Mm-hmm.
You can create a Buddha through disciples. It is Buddha.
That
You can
creates the
preach.
results, right?
So writing, it has people are organizing workshops. I come across poetry workshop, short story workshop that may encourage somebody, but to make your child write because you are a writer, you can make your child write. You are a great writer, so your son will be or daughter will be a great writer. That is not to be. So those who are trying their best to give a lift to their children through self-publication and all that, it is all humbug. It is has no
It has no future.
strength in it.
Right. And now coming back to your personal life again, I did a little bit of reading up on you and I found that not only were you the writer of the Pagdi Purusha, which entailed the story of Utkal pride, Shri Madhusudan Das. How did you go on from becoming a story writer to a biography writer? I mean, how was the switch?
That is actually not a biography. That is a novel based upon the life of a person.
Is it
So
fictional?
it's a biographical novel because fictional dialogues will be there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a partly I can say. Suppose I have given conversation of Madhusudan Das with his wife Saudamini. Obviously, I do not have that access to know that. You will
Right.
have to create. I call it a novel, biographical novel. Why I wrote that? I was really with English poems. I started writing English poetry, and one of my seniors was there. He told me that whatever you write in English, you will always be a second-rate citizen in the English world, a second-class writer, because you can't be as fluent
As the
as
English
an
people.
Englishman, because our syntax, our writing flow, everything will be checkmated. So you write in Odia. If you overflow, then you can go to other languages. But first, you should start writing in your mother tongue. That really encouraged me. Then I started writing short stories, and I got much appreciation for that. But once something happened, because I'm telling you the growth of it. I was with an English professor. He was there in England for 5 years. His son, they have a pigeon. So he asked his son to go and bring some paddy from a shop. In Odia, he said dhano. But this
Dhano.
boy could not know what is dhano. It is in Bani Bihar. They were in Bani Bihar because they were there. They did not have any family back home in say, any village or any village. So he did not know what is dhano. So I thought if he does not know what is dhano, he is a good student. If you do not know Odia words like say tota, hato, ghato, dhano, then what for we are writing? So that is how I started writing for children. But another thing, I read, first I saw that film, Day of the Jackal by Frederick Forsyth. After seeing that movie, I wrote the novel. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I read the novel. It's a fantastic novel. So much of research has gone into that. And that too, I did not find any writing in Odia which is based upon, particularly novel, which is based upon research.
Okay.
Second thing is, I have read so many novels, I could not find a particular character which would encourage my young people in Odisha. Who is their role model? You see, Ramayana, to my mind, Ramayana is a novel written in verse form because that was the standard then to remember.
Mm-hmm.
All the Puranas are written in the
Couplet forms.
couplet form because you can easily remember those things. So Ramayana, this Rama character is depicted by Valmiki in such a manner that the people go on. That is why they say Raghukula Riti Sada Chaliya Pran Jai Par Bachan Na Jai. So the main thing in Ramayana is to keep your
Word.
words. Truth is the only thing. To emphasize that, he has gone into that narration. It's a very extensive narration. So I thought I must create, if I can create. If I can't create, I must have something as the protagonist who will be a role model for the young people of Odisha. So Madhusudan Das struck me. He's a fantastic character. I think I have also not touched all the aspects of his personality. Very rare personality, fantastic personality, a man. He is more than Moses. For 50 years, he fought for Odia people and got this land. If today Odisha is there, Odisha was never Odisha. It was part, sometime it was Kalinga, sometime it was Utkala, sometime it was Trikalinga, sometime it was Udra. So, this conglomerate.
Mm-hmm.
Today we find Odisha, and there are other people who have also fought for this, like say Krishna Chandra Gajapati and others. But he is the man who brought the entire notion to one, and he fought, spending all his earnings. He died a pauper. He earned like a prince, but spent everything for the welfare of the people of Odisha, for the formation of Odisha province. So that character, like that Benhur character entering
Appeal
into
to you.
my life, I wrote it say continuously for 4 years. Every, because there were 195 episodes. Each week there was an episode, and I will write on it the episode on Thursday, and it will get published on Friday. For long 4 years, and I have cried several times while writing the episodes.
Right. And while learning about you, I mean, this is a common knowledge to all of us that you are one of the winners of Sahitya Academy Award winner from the state, and you've also won the Odisha Academy Award, Sahitya Academy Award. So, as a writer, when
I
you
have also got this Begin Academy Award.
yes, I was coming to that.
Ah,
So,
ah.
you've done your education in political science. Then you went on to become a literature writer. You've written more than 100 stories and over 15 short story collections. And then you also had a lot of role to play in the poetry. And then you went on to write a biographical novel like the Pagadi Purusha. And this makes me want to ask you a question, like when you start receiving prestigious awards, be it awarded by the Sahitya Kala Academy, or be it the Odisha Sahitya Academy or the NCRT itself, right? Do you feel this is it? This is where I see myself standing and
No, no, no. Definitely, an award is an encouragement, but no award is indispensable for writing. If you are true to yourself and your realization is really convincing, and you need to speak, why we write actually? Somebody writes, there are, I can say there are three ways. I want that I saw this and you may not see this, so I will show you. That is how I write. One. Number two, there are some people also, those who want a name, that I will write poetry. I am chief secretary of a state. I am was a brilliant student. So if I write literature,
this
one
is yet
poetry,
another
short
feather to my
story,
cap.
then I can have another cap,
Mm-hmm.
another feather on my cap.
Mm-hmm.
That is the second thing.
Mm-hmm.
Third is, there are certain things which will convince you, which will make you write, because people say Gopinath Mahanti, he was a brilliant student. He went to Koraput, days in, days out, nights. He spent nights to write books like say Amritar Santan, Paraja, Dadi Buddha, fantastic novels. So when you think that you can't sit but write, then you will start writing. And that is the writer actually. When somebody, a person gets the flair in his mind and gets the message. That is why they say that I have not written this. It is God who has
Written
ordained
through
this.
me,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. It is Saraswati who came to my throat and started doing that. So you may write for a purpose, to show, because many propagandist literature are like that.
Mm-hmm.
They say progressive literature, say to propagate, to spread, say communism or any other ism. They have written so many things, but that will not continue.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing is to earn a name, people also write.
Hmm.
But the third is those who write out of conviction, they have to write. They are the real writers because they can't escape that. So I think I am for the third part. You need not write to show up. You write whatever you realized. So one great thing about writing is you must be truthful to yourself, to your own thing. Suppose I have not gone to Paris. I have no business to discuss about, say, after from reading this as a books, I will from library I will gain experience and start writing. That is not good. I must pick my experience, my realization.
Mm-hmm. Is there any such realization of such sorts where you would like to capture it into one of your writings, but you haven't had the chance to do it yet? Has there been any such
There are
realizations?
so many things because I have a story collection called Niruktira Neli. Nirukti means deduction.
Deduction.
Suppose something happened to you. You thought that I will write a story about it,
Mm-hmm.
but you have not written it.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I carry plots, those which are, say, 20 years, 30 years old, but yet I am not able to write.
And over the time, have you started, or has those, plots started losing certain pieces of
So,
them?
so many, so many. Say, for example, I was talking to you about Madhusudan Das,
Right.
but there are characters in Odisha, like, say, Kantakavi Lakshmikanta Mahapatra. Do you know he was a leper patient? He lost all his fingers. His wife would put a pen here with bandage and he will write.
He was convinced.
Such kind of suffering. And out of that, those songs, Sabuthiru Vanchita Kari, Keunja Savana Udaiva hai, that Bande Utkal Janani. He was about 20 or 20 plus. He has written that fantastic song, state song that is like that Gopabandhu Chaudhary. At that time, he resigned and went for public service. Fantastic character. Such characters should find way to the different forms of literature, say by way of poetry or prose, story, and more so novels. Because I am convinced that novel creates a kind of atmosphere which will convince. If you go on reading, in that process, you start getting convinced. So we have to create such characters so that our young people will get role models. They have no role models. Since they have no role models, they are looking at the film stars, they are looking at the business people. But where is that dedication? And there is a saying, nice saying. I think everyone should be an aristocratic person. Aristocratic doesn't mean that you will have a fantastic house, costly car, and all that. Actually, an aristocrat is one who gives more into life than he takes out of it. You need to give more into life. We are getting so many things from the society. What we are giving? I must ask every day that I got this, I got that, but what I gave? So that makes you greater. Now, coming to the writers. Nowadays, more people they are writing, say, modern poetry or short stories. They speak about their own experience. But what they have done themselves for the society.
Right.
So, my conviction is we must create literature in such a manner so that it will benefit the society. And if it is done without such type of consciousness, I am talking, you should not be, you should not do it, otherwise, it will be a propaganda literature. You should be convinced about that. If you are with, that is why I say when the people say that the intellectual is one who is educated, no, all the educated people are not
Not
intellectuals.
intellectuals.
Intellectual is one who is informed about the problems of the society, is knowledgeable, and always thinks progressively about the welfare of the society. How many people are there? Suppose I am first class passed. I
Hmm.
got a job, fantastic job.
But what
I
am I
have a
doing
nice
for my fellow
building,
people?
nice everything. But what the society got out of it?
Right. So, talking about this propaganda writers, and one should always write with a conscious mind. And we also talked about writers should be convinced and they have conviction. They should have conviction when they're writing. Now, let's say we're talking about a scenario in the world or in the country or in the state, and I am a poet who writes on romance, who likes to write on love. Would it be fair if I have to change my writing style to meet the current scenario of my state, my fellow human beings?
No, you see, you brought this example love. There is no love where there is no dedication.
Mm-hmm.
There is no love if there is no suffering.
Right.
So you must transcend.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not convinced, don't write.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see that like a masala film, like a masala movie, that giving some kind of pathos, some humor, some fantasy, and create a situation and write a novel. No, you must be convinced about that.
Mm-hmm.
So love is a perennial thing, and that love, if it transcends. Suppose I read a piece of poem written by you on love. If it transcends me, whatever I am, if I get a lift out of that, a feeling which I never had before, definitely that is a good piece because it came from your own realization. So if you are not convinced, don't try.
I came across you being one of the foremost, champions of Gandhian philosophy. Do you really think Gandhian philosophy is now a need of the hour, now more than ever? Do you really think it is?
No, that will be unfair to call myself champion of Gandhian philosophy. No, that not that. I love Gandhian philosophy because to my mind, 50% of the problems of the world will be solved if we accept Gandhian philosophy. The most important thing of Gandhian philosophy is not truth and ahimsa. He himself has said these are as old as mountains and rivers. People do not know what actually Gandhi gave. The first thing is you must be self reliant. An individual or a people or a nation, in order to remain independent, must be self reliant. That is why I remember a book was written by Anu Bandyopadhyay. It was published in 1951. Nehru wrote its foreword. The name of the book is Bahu Rupe Gandhi. Gandhi in different forms. Gandhi has a mother, Gandhi has a father, Gandhi has a teacher, Gandhi has an engineer, Gandhi has a doctor, Gandhi has a barber, Gandhi has a cook. Because he has experimented with all kinds of activities to remain independent. He was saving himself.
Nice.
He was washing his own clothes. How many people are there? It is just a symbol. So when he started non-cooperation movement in 1921, many people, why Chittaranjan Das, even Rabindranath Tagore, he wrote a letter of 7 pages. He said it will have no effect if you don't cooperate with the authorities. What harm it will be to them? But Gandhi said, we are 35 crores of people, they are only 1 lakh. If
Hmm.
we know not, if we will not cooperate, we will not resort to violence. We will not just cooperate with them. They will go away because they depend upon us for everything, for communication, for administration, for food, everything. So Gandhi, I think he was a fantastic strategist. He understood the psychology of Indians. And Indian people are, by their say standard of thinking, they are religious people. And this non-cooperation started with prayer, fasting, everything. Like it is a kind of worship. So Gandhi, to my mind, is not only a strategist, a philosopher, a saint, but he was an enigma. He was the only man who was listening to himself. He will not be convinced because when there was violence in Chauri Chaura in 1922, it was going forward like anything.
Mm.
Gandhi said, if you cooperate, non-cooperate and resort to non-violence, within a year you will get independence. But they resorted to violence in 1922 February. So he withdrew. Everybody, rank and file in Congress, they said you should not withdraw. But no, Gandhi stood his ground. Many people do not understand because Gandhi was a kind of person, once he is convinced, he will not go back.
Mhm.
By 1946, and he had three Padajatras. One was in 1930, that Dandi
Dandi March.
Padajatra. Then in 34, here in Odisha, Harijan Padajatra. And in 1946-47, that Noakhali Padajatra. Very few people know about Noakhali Padajatra. And you will be astonished to know the whole Congress was with him. The entire country accepted him as a demigod. But he went alone to Noakhali. And when we got independence, 1947, August 15, where was Gandhi? Everybody celebrated. Delhi was agog with enthusiasm, lighting, fireworks, everything. But at that time, Gandhi was there in Calcutta, in an unknown place. He was with his
Charkha.
charkha. That was the conviction of the man. He lived for others. And a spiritual person always lives for others.
I mean, I totally understand what you're saying because if he was convinced that non cooperation and non violence method would definitely get us the freedom, he would be the last person to be shocked when the freedom really came because he already saw it in his mind that this is the right way to go forward.
No, once he said Manu. Manu was said, are you a Mahatma? Gandhi said, if I die by bullet or somebody kills me, then I am a Mahatma. And he was really killed that way. But his death is a different thing. Even whether he, I think such a person should not have died out of, say, diarrhea or, say, typhoid and all that. He,
He had an enigmatic life.
lived for certain values, permanent values. People today also say, is Gandhi relevant? Why you are asking this? Because he is relevant, you
Hence
still
the
ask
question.
that. And that too, he talked about only permanent values: truth, non-violence, love, Swaraj, self reliance. These are all time principles. So he will be always relevant. So I think the more and more we talk about Gandhi and convince people to, you see, nowadays we are spending so many things on unnecessary things. Suppose, say, for example, we are living in a democracy, Odisha is progressing. How come there is a Nagada then? Under our very nose, we are having so many developments. But how come there is a Nagada and 19 children they died because they did not get proper food? Here is the answer by Gandhi. If look at this Gram Swaraj, what is Swaraj concept? To have self rule. So what blunder those people committed? They are also citizens of India. They are also Odias. You will have Bhubaneswar, you will have a smart city, you will have all the facilities here, but under your very nose, a few miles away, people are dying.
Dying.
Is it development?
In
So,
21st
yeah,
century out of
Gandhi, that is why
starvation.
Gandhi said, first you look at those, he used the word village, look at all these pockets. Before you get the benefits here in the capital, you must see that they also get the same benefit. That is
Right.
democracy.
Right.
Because that is why he said, whenever you are facing a problem, whether I should do it or not, he has given a talisman. He says that think if your action is going to help the lowest of the low, then it should be done. Are we doing that? Right. We talk about Janata Janardhan, we go to election, ask for votes. But what about those people? How can you have such pockets till now after 75 years of independence? Right. And you still give the slogan that we are for the upliftment of the poor. How come they are poor people? Because you are rich, they are poor.
Wonderful. And this brings me to the last question of today's episode. Usually I always have the same question for all the writers up my sleeve. Have you ever faced a writer's block in your life? But I will not be asking that question to you. I rather have a different question for you. So, you are married to a person who also writes. She's a poet by her own authority and she writes under a false name, Jayantika. I'm talking about Srimati Jayanti Panda. So when both you and her as your partner, when both of you are writers and you're both, you all both have your own writing strategies and writing ideologies, do you ever cross roads or you cross, paths while writing with each other, or ever there is a clash of egos as writers?
No, we don't have a joint stock company. She has her own way. I have my own way. She's a fantastic lady. I must tell you the truth. Mine is a love marriage. She was my student for 4 years. She's so very committed to the family life that she has a better career than mine. So she passed out in 1981, but got into the job as a lecturer in political science. She has also political science in 90. Mhm. After our son was born, daughter was born, they were grown up, they were school going. Then only she chose to have a job. Mhm. Because her primary interest was the family then. Then children grew up, they got married. Now that she has started only writing say 10 years back. She has a fantastic chart of life. Mhm. She gave the first part to her studies and came out colorful. Then she started her married life, brought out two children, reared them, and they are really good because my son was a Western student, my daughter was a Western student. She son in science and daughter in arts. After everything was finished, she had everything in her mind, but she thought, lest my writing should be an impediment. My commitment to this thing may also hamper this, that. She did not do that. I have seen her writing and putting things together without sending them anywhere. But nowadays I find him in the morning, she gets up and the first thing is a pen and a paper.
Does it make you jealous?
No, because my area is different. That is why I said from the beginning that it is not a joint stock company. I never, might be she might be thinking that my husband is already a known writer. He should send this manuscript to the publisher and get the book published. I never do that. And within 10 years, she has already six collections of poetry and five collections of stories for children, and she writes for children also. She writes poetry. She's more into poetry, and I think she's doing good.
Fantastic, fantastic. Hardly do I ever come across couples who come from the same background, who share the same passion for the same thing, and yet they never find each other in their crosshairs. So, this was a lovely, lovely session with you, sir. And thank you so much for your time, and the insights that you shared were great. And I have so much to take away from today's
Thank
episode.
you, but I don't know if I could answer all your questions because I am not really always this language. English is a kind of barrier because whenever I go to public meetings, I make it a point. If it is not a classroom or a seminar, I tend to speak in Odia because I love my language and I think I'm more conversant with that.
As much as we also love the language, but we wanted to cross the barriers of the state and make this information, this content
That is fantastic. That is
widespread and
nice.
use English as a medium to do so. But thank you so much, sir, and you've
Thank
done
you.
more than justice to all my questions. Thank you so much again. And for you guys who are watching us, you can continue to watch us on Tea with Tanya, our YouTube channel. Do give us a like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.